Hello everyone, Allie here, and welcome to the Gold Mine. Thank you for joining me here on another episode in Allie's Treasure Trove. We are back again here with episode number 19 of the Allie Plays August Takeover here with, of course, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. And I'm excited. We're getting into Case 5, Trial Part 3. So the judge did call a recess to go and subpoena Mr. Egbert Benedict, who is, of course, we know is a fake name. But actually, the typewriter turned Morse code lady actually works with him at the communication center. So he's being subpoenaed right now so he can come and testify, being kind of somewhat proven to be at the scene based on the blood match. Now, of course, as Van Zieks mentions with Mr. Sholmes and Iris's invention of the blood color changing thing, is it really true that it's possible that only one single person in the world has that color green blood when sprayed with the stuff? That is something I've been pondering a bit. I mean, it is very convenient here like that, but there's only so many different blood tapes. So how different can it be? But for all intents and purposes here, I'm pretty sure that, of course, Egbert Benedict was with the Skulkin brothers, Beavis and Butthead, searching for, I think, a second disc. When he was trying to take that first disc from Gina, he was under the impression that there should have been something else. But it looks like what else was in the pocket was what Gina gave us, that other redemption ticket. So maybe in whatever that other, I think it was a small box, was the expired redemption ticket. Maybe the small disc is in there. But so it seems like Egbert Benedict, obviously we should have seen that was a fake name from miles away. But you know what? We've had weirder names like Red White and April May here in Ace Attorney games. So if his real name was Egbert Benedict, I wouldn't honestly be that surprised. But the judge called a recess while that's going on. Currently, it is 12:41 p.m. at the Old Bailey's Defendant's Antechamber. So let's jump on into it. Excited to see how things go down here. Ah, Gina, how are you holding up? I'm starting to feel quite warmly towards her frequent cold shoulders now. It's oddly charming. Gina's like, I won't be friends with you, don't talk to me. Please, I need friends. It's like, I know how it feels, Gina. I know how it feels. Ginny, are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything? Silent treatment. What's the point, eh? Why go to all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me? What? Well, you saw it, that picture. What picture? Oh my god, Reno State. Are you kidding me? Ah, you mean this? The photograph taken by Hurley's red-handed recorder. Well, I didn't think it would have captured a scene like this, that's for sure. Oh, you mean your failed hold-up attempt? The thing is, it's so unconvincing too, her holding the gun. Even Mr. Windibank was like, it's fine. Mr. Windibank was just leaving her by her. She was no threat to Mr. Windibank. I don't believe she was any threat to him. Like, he yeeted the small Skulkin brother. Like, he could have taken Gina in a heartbeat. That's why, Van Zieks is like, oh, you're saying he just left her in the storeroom and he was wandering around? Sure. It's like, yeah, I don't think Gina could really do it. I mean, yeah, she could be a pickpocket, but she was even scared. She was scared of Benedict when he was saying that you stole this out of my pocket and that's my coat. She's like, ugh. So I don't think she's too much of a threat. I think she wants to think she is, but that picture doesn't seem intimidating to me. So I don't know. I mean, she managed to get into the back room, so obviously it worked a little bit, but she wasn't there to take anything. She just wanted to find the script. So I don't know. Maybe I think Gina is more soft than she actually is, but I feel like it's a giant front. I feel like we're gonna crack, at the end of this case, we're gonna crack Gina's heart open, and then she's gonna, hopefully she's around in the second game, and then she's like super sweetheart. When she learns the true power of friendship. It's hopeless. Anyone who sees that gonna think I did it, ain't they? Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of a shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court. Surely you've gotta have your doubts about me now. Can't still think I'm innocent. Of course I can. Gina's like, don't help me. Ginny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night. She's embarrassed. Reno's cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear from you. Alright then. It was after we had that dinner together at your place, right, Iris? Then we all had a chat up in your office, didn't we? Yes, I remember. After that, I just couldn't get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down the street to 2-1 to Winterbank's place. I had to know if Iris' story was there or not, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I don't know what it's about or nothing. If you ask me, there's something about it that Sholmes don't like. Something what he didn't want people reading. That's why he lied to Iris about sticking it in lug with Winterbank for safekeeping. At least, that's what I thought at the time. I know it's not a very good voice, but the way I cue myself into Gina's voice is just by going, what? 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 I wonder if anyone knows where I'm trying to get the reference for Gina's voice from. If you know, leave it in the comment section down below. Both Stevens, I feel, might be able to figure it out. I don't know how many other people would be able to figure it out, but both Stevens, I think, could figure it out. I think you guys could figure it out. It's a really horrible impression, but the character I'm modeling after, there's a scene in the show that I'm referring to. It just goes, what? So that's what I've based Gina off of this entire time. Like I said, I think both Stevens might be able to figure it out. Might. Anyways, so you broke into Winterbank's. I just had to know if it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea all that was gonna kick off, did I? That's true, wrong place, wrong time, Gina. I struck the lock and snuck inside. It was dark as you like in there. So I gave the oil lamp on the counter a bit of a wick. And that's when... What do you think you're doing? Ah! I nearly died, I did. Next thing I knew. I'd grabbed the gun off the counter and was waving it in the air like, I don't know what. Ah, you're the girl who was in here this afternoon. I didn't think pickpockets went in for armed robbery. The manuscript, have you got it here? Did Sholmes leave a load of papers with you? A story? I beg your pardon? The Hound of the Best, something or the other? If it's here, I want to see it. I'm sorry, young lady. Once I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers. I don't want it. What would I do with it anyway? I want to see its ear, that's all. No, you want to see it, do you? I want to know if Sholmes really pawned it here or not. Please, just let me see it, and I'll go. Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would you? You're very non-threatening, Gina. I want to look at the mantle script. And he's like, alright, whatever. So then the old cove unlocked the storeroom door, and we both went inside. And it was there, alright? The mantle script. Sholmes weren't lying after all. You did all that just to check for me, Ginny? Anyway, then there was a bit of a kick-up out in the main bit of the shop. The Skulkin brothers arriving on the scene, yes. What was that noise? Someone's breaking in. Dear me. Is there some burglars convention here tonight that I don't know about? I think I forgot to shut the door behind me. Sorry. I'd better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back? Oh, well, I'll come with you in. And don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances. Oh, nice, Mr. Winterbank. And with that, he took the gun out of my hands and walked back out into the shop. I hung back in the storeroom, like he said, straining my ears in the dark to hear what was going on. Sounded like they got into a bit of a scrap. Started to think I should help, see? I was just about to go out in the storeroom myself, when... Ooh. I heard a couple of shots go off. 2, I think. Almost at the same time. Then there he was, right at my feet, lying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storeroom door, so I slammed it shut and locked it quick as you like. Because you thought whoever had shot Mr. Winterbank might come for you? Yeah. So I went to grab the old co's gun. Figured I'd put up a fight at least. But when I got a better look at him, I knew. Winterbank was a goner. She probably fainted. And that's why she was there passed out. I felt funny in my head all of a sudden. Kinda dizzy. And after that, I don't remember nothing. That must be when you passed out, Gina. If I hadn't done what I'd done, the old cove might still be alive. Did you tell the police everything you just told us? Of course I did. They didn't believe a word of it, did they? All they said was, if I kept telling lies, it'd make things even worse for me. It'll be alright, Ginny, don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Bruno's about to put the real culprit through the mill. That cove what was there in the afternoon? That Eggard Benedict? Still remember how he looked at me, like I was nothing. He was there that night. We don't know his real name yet, but I'm convinced that he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty. You what? What? You can leave it all in Runo's capable hands now, Ginny. Mr. Naraodo? Yes? How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened here before? Come on, it was only 2 months ago. Me and McGill did. Told you a whole pack of lies. And you got the bog trotter off with him, even though he was a killer? No, I could never forget that. Oh? I did what I thought was best at the time. But the pain of that error of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what. But what from lying? You could be working to get another killer off the hook for all you know. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in a trial. You were? Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder. And strange as it might sound, the circumstances of the crime were pretty damning. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who'd done it. Oh, Runo! But there was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend me. My best friend. Busting out the sad music again. Oh, put the sad music away, Capcom. I'm trying to have fun. Not trying to cry over Cosmo for like the 16th time. Ryunosuke, no one believes you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith in me, and I'll do the rest. I was so happy, I cried. But even then, somewhere inside me, I couldn't help thinking, surely he doesn't really believe in me. Not completely. But I was wrong. And as soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had an absolute, unwavering belief in me. And in turn, I developed an absolute, unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first. What are you saying? I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you. So you don't need to worry. I won't let you down. Gina, let the sad music open your heart. Even though I'm a diver and a no-good liar, you're not like McGill did. I know that. Eh? That's right. You're our friend, Jenny. Iris. We know you better than you think. And we've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust. Yes. That's really all we need to know. Exactly. Mr. Naruto, Oh. Defendant Gina Lestrade and her legal representative. Court proceedings are about to resume. Please head into the courtroom immediately. Yes, of course. Thank you. I'd been both a defendant and a defending lawyer in my time, so I knew only too well just how hard it was to put all your faith in another. And I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another putting all their faith in you. This is it at last, the final chapter, the final battle. Wish me luck, Susato-san. And I hope you're watching over me too, partner. Alright, so it's 1:41 p.m. Regina telling us her story took an hour, apparently. Back into the courtroom. There's the Skulkins. I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Van Zeeks, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness? The subpoena was delivered to the communication station where the man works immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem. I see. Then let us turn our attention to Inspector Gregson's presses of the case heard by the court this morning. The glaring omission of the third bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector. Yes, I can only apologize, my lord. And although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood at the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as evidence in my courtroom. It's a big mistake to cross Hurley and me. A very big mistake. My lord! The subpoena witness has just arrived in the building! Thank you, officer. Show him to the stand without delay. Mr. Eggert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon. And certainly not like this. Thank you for complying with the court's subpoena at such short notice, sir. But of course, my lord. As an upstanding member of London society, it is my pleasure to oblige. Now, kindly state your name and occupation for the record. Ashley Graydon, Communications Officer. Mr. Graydon and I both work at London Central Communication Station. Now, perhaps somebody would kindly explain what all this is about? You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on the way here, I presume? Yes, I was. Something to do with a murder that took place at the pawnbrokers on Baker Street. And some nonsense about me having been there on the night in question. That is the accusation, indeed. This really is beyond a joke, you know. Very well. Without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath. Gladly, my lord. Gladly. Alright, Speedwagon, what's up? The accusation. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. But are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation, even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene. Some Scaramouche detective's homebrewed tincture can hardly be taken as serious evidence.
So, you deny the accusation completely, do you?
I must say, I am dismayed. For the highest court in the land to be swayed by the self-professed detective's toy. It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. Then it would seem we have the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly! How long am I expected to be detained here?
If following the defense's cross-examination your involvement in this matter has not been established, you will be free to leave immediately.
Good. Then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. Some small consolation at least.
Let us not uphold Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination.
So, we meet again, Mr. Egbert Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies, you are... Rinosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. We have met. If you say so. Ashley Graydon, enchanté. So... I trust we can conclude this quickly. Alright, Joffrey. Joffrey Speedwagon Caesar combo. But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. Yeet it into the gallery. Look, if Van Ziegs can yeet bottles full of wine into the gallery, you can yeet this guy's hat. It's fine. I won't tell anybody. Alright, let's press this statement. Press it all. Yes, we even met in the very pawnbrokery where the crime took place on the afternoon of the day in question. Though, of course, you introduced yourself by a different name at the time. It was Mr. Egbert Benedict, I believe. Tell me, what made you... The witness here is to testify about events that took place that night. He is under no obligation to answer such unrelated questions. You can't be serious. Thank you, because I certainly do not feel inclined to answer such an inappropriate question. So he's going to be evasive, is he? In an effort not to give anything away. This could be tricky. He even looks like a douche. But are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder?
Hold it!
Hold it! Have you seen these two men before? This pair? No, I don't associate with criminals. Said by a man who introduced himself as Egbert Benedict. I'd like to know who I have to thank for this. Who made this outlandish accusation against me? The young lawyer there in the black. This is a farce. Whose idea was it to permit an outsider to work in a British court anyway? Well, needless to say, I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation.
Hold it!
Where were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question, sir? That is past the hour at which I would normally retire. Certainly. I was not in the company of these rapscallions. You're able to prove that?
Objection!
Listen carefully, my learned Nipponese friend, for you appear to be under gross misapprehension on this point. What do you mean? The witness maintains he was not at the scene of the crime. He has no obligation to prove his absence. If your accusation is that the witness was present at the scene, the obligation lies with you to prove your assertion. You will fulfill that obligation before putting any more unreasonable questions to the witness. The silent victory wiggle. Thanks. Even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene.
Hold it!
Blood was found at the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Sholmes' chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I am not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How can you be sure that the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Sholmes' chemical is able to differentiate different blood samples. Spare me the science lesson. Who is this Sholmes character, anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know the name. He's a renowned detective. So, even you are unable to bring yourself to say, great detective. A great detective, you say? Now we're in the realm of fairy tales, are we? Oh, you got something to say?
Excuse me.
Nash? Beavis, you got something to say to that, Beavis? What, me? No, the other one. No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to here with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know, you're not Big Bruv Sulky. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Call by me, governor. You what? Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share that thought with the court? Me thoughts? I don't have none of them. They must have been him. You what? Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest gov. Nothing. I was just thinking. If he waves his arm around like that much more, it'll open up the wound again, that's all. What wound? You want to tell us about that wound? Where he took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. It ain't gonna be healed up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was worrying for him and, Oh, L's bells. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord?
Yes, Mr. Graydon.
I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. We know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, that person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow a court official to examine your arm, sir? The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand as if in pain. Hey, I bet you didn't think JoJo posing would backfire on you. No, je refuse. You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me with these common thieves. Accordingly, I am not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. It's fine, dude. Just claim you're a sovereign citizen, then they can't do anything to you. It's fine. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all this. I've never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. And I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved.
You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Winterbank's pawnbrokery.
My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony.
Very well, counsel.
Yeah, I can't wait to present the ticket.
Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon.
Objection!
What? Why is the music still playing? I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll press the statement. And I'll press the statement, see what happens. See what happens. What? What? Can't believe you've done this.
Hold it!
Never had anything to do with it. You forget that I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I am not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to finish my study.
Objection!
No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, good thing Gregson was literally there. Do you have something to add, Inspector? Hey, come again, sunshine? You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector? That afternoon. Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself and the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. And at that time, this witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Well now. I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? But you must. I'm not gonna lie and pretend I remember something that I don't. What's going on here? Gregsy showed us a picture before, didn't he? You know, from the cameras that Hurley installed in Windibanks. Yes, of course.
Indeed, and the gentleman pictured bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say.
Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. At no point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? He's getting threatened by Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. That's all he's going to say on the matter, is it? What do you think, Runo? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away. The complete opposite of Hurley, then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better. Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from these witnesses' lips. All thanks to the Skulkin brothers. Yes, they were key to it after all. So he says he had nothing to do with Windibanks. Well, we know that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record. Good idea. You never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. All right, so Iris says we gotta look. You gotta look. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to look at the court record. That's not what I wanted. Do 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 do. We don't have the picture of him in the court record. That's a little inconvenient. You want to present the disc? You're like, you literally got your blood on this disc.
Objection!
Hey, something happened. Woo! Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why? Is it supposed to mean something? This disc was until the day of his murder in pawn in Mr. Windibank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try and take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course. Wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you're mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there's a small smear of blood on the disc.
Ah, yes, resulting from an abrasion of the thumb, perhaps?
That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also, in the form of a scratch.
Good gracious, indeed it must.
Mr. Graydon, you refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you.
What? What is the meaning of this?
So you admit it now? You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant?
Order! Order! Well, Mr. Graydon?
It would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What?
It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now.
As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder.
Oh, but I thought you never had anything to do with that pawnbrokery.
Oh, well, I just had an item in there. It's fine. Nothing major. Alright, so disc testimony. There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night.
Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say? The famous London philanthropist? Who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder?
Yes, my lord. The one and the same.
Good lord, Mr. Graydon. Are you saying that McGilded and yourself are acquainted?
Yes, that's correct.
Order? Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again.
According to what Gina told us, this disc was placed in pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. Mr. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit at Windibanks. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windibanks in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason.
Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please.
Hold it!
Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary.
You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir.
So you see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse whilst on an errand. Which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. You claim that was your overcoat? obviously, and in my haste, I clean forgot that the music box disc was in its pocket.
And yet, there is a note on it that reads, "For McGilded."
I'm a collector of rare and unusual music box discs. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city and was interested to discover... Yeah, what kind of gentleman's club? I don't know why gentleman's club is used as a fancy name to hide strip clubs, but like that's what they are here, at least in the United States. I don't know about in 1800s England what a gentleman's club is considered, but I think in most of Florida, I think that's what they have to be called. They have to be called gentlemen's clubs. I don't know why. Extra steps. Extra steps. That he shared my penchant in that area.
So, the disc in question?
It's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it.
But then you forgot that it was in the pockets of the overcoat you were forced to pawn.
Yes, exactly. Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. Oh dear, this is complicated, isn't it? Let's leave it alone for the time being. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling on the day in question.
Hold it!
So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right, but despite being mindful of danger when walking in the insalubrious areas her kind frequent.
Objection!
Miss Lestrade did no such thing. Well, of course you would take that stance, but the girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windibanks. To get your hand on Mr. McGilded's disc.
Objection!
My learned friend is a veritable front of nonsense.
Nonsense?
I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in this way. Is that clear?
Yes, my lord. And then I will continue with my testimony for what possible use it can be.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to Windibanks before? Only once, for the purpose of pawning something. But, like many, I enjoy browsing in such establishments.
So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. I didn't notice at first, of course. Such is the art of the pick purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbrokery at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. Ah, he can say what he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently, the police are collecting anything that has a connection to Mr. McGilded
Right.
as evidence. Wrong way. Alright, we gotta go this way. Hey, yo, what's up, Gregson? Is something wrong, Inspector? What do you mean? The last remark Mr. Gray had made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone. I'm not hiding anything. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilded's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine.
What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets?
Yes, exactly. You should know all about that.
Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. A man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life, yet he had a dark side, too.
Where are you going with this, Van Zeeks?
I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they?
That's enough! Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know.
Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. Guys, we're finding the link. I think we find the link today! The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector.
The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zeeks here. Secret romance. What? Who said that? Why would anybody say that?
Well, it would appear that the Inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony.
Gladly, my lord.
Hold it!
But perhaps you'd seen something of value among the forfeited items? No, not at all. All disgusting, worthless trash.
The valuer was brought in by police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac.
In that case, it's clear that you broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilded's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. It was no more in the shop that night than I. As I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. So there was nothing of McGilded's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. Bruno, if you have some evidence, then let him have it. I'm dying to see that irritatingly assured expression of his crumble. Me too, Iris, me too. McGilded slipped the disc into his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windibank's. Then, when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket. There's no doubt about it. That witness is lying through his pearly white teeth. The police are obviously after anything left behind by McGilded as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day. But Gregson's been very strange about all this. There must be a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. So do we present the ticket at the last statement? I think that's what this is setting us up for. Because this was in the pocket.
Objection!
This disc was deposited at Windibank's on Magnus McGilded's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Conjecture again, and in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbrokery again that night.
Objection!
Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true.
What?
What? Mr. McGilded had another article in pawn at Windibank's, as this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ah! There were two articles belonging to McGilded in Windibank's pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your two accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. Ah!
This is the second ticket, is it?
What had that man deposited? The article description reads, one small box.
A rather vague description, it seems to me.
Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could just simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point.
Indeed. The witness makes a solid argument.
So that means that for some reason, this Graydon fellow needed the small box that very night, does it?
Objection!
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zeeks? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's arguments, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windibank's pawnbrokery. and rest assured the prosecution can prove it.
What?
Good gracious! Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please.
Yes, sir!
What prints?
These prints were taken from one of the detective security cameras. Ah, Hurley's red-handed recorders again.
As previously explained, using this plan of the shop layout. The victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for sale once forfeited.
According to the information on this ticket, McGilden's small box had been forfeited already, 2 days before the incident at 9 p.m. on the 13th of April, to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of the forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 p.m. on the 15th of April.
The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear.
And then here we have another print. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident.
I see. So we have 2 pictures to compare.
Put it on the stereoscope.
Now I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache.
Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we considered theft as one of the possible motives in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life.
So your men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector?
Yes, sir! We counted every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. And the Yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both.
In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question, and my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy.
Ah!
I don't believe it. If I could have just shown that, he'd stolen McGilden's pawn box. I might have been able to break him down at last.
You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking. And I wonder if these 2 photographs really are exactly the same. Throw it on the stereoscope. What?
So, counsel, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion?
I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy between these 2 photographic prints somewhere? I want to use a piece of evidence. Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something, if I may.
Try something? What do you mean, counsel?
I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy.
I'm not entirely sure I follow. Which piece of evidence do you intend to use to help you identify discrepancy between the 2 prints?
Take that!
I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the 2 prints stereoscopically. Ooh! Yes, you've caught the bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You've got the cross-eyed compulsion. Juror number 3, what a surprise. Come on, Bruno. Let's put the pictures in place and see what this wonderful contraption shows us. There we go. Now look through the eyepiece. Ah. I wasn't sure at first, but there is a clear discrepancy between these 2 prints.
What? You must identify the location in question for the court, counsel. Indicate the precise location of discrepancy of which you speak.
Take that!
Granted, these 2 prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them. What? When you view the 2 pictures stereoscopically, That's a fancy box. A single area stands out as being different, the location of this small box. Let me wait. Unbelievable.
By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary.
I love the cross-eyed judge. What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGilded's small box was indeed not stolen from Windibanks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves.
Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilded is in fact...
Yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints.
Objection!
Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen, which means, quite simply, that nothing has changed. That may be true, but... Alright, McGilded's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact it was moved like that change things? Yeah. You're just taking whatever was out of the box. I believe this changes everything about the case.
How can that possibly be?
The crucial point is that, in fact, what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box.
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Windibanks as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little boxes belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial. The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zakes. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to the Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth.
To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing.
I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zakes.
This is nothing but a smokescreen, Nipponey's specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say?
My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning, that this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to McGilded from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place.
Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property.
If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilded perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. Trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend in his most insightful defense.
The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept, even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me.
The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling. It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its arguments. To explain what possible significance these commonplace items pawned by this fine citizen could have. Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case?
Well, what's the matter, Bruno? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence. Yes, of course. You and I both know that. We know McGilded's true character, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why. But if we explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGilded's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information. Oh no! And that would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. But Ginny! Could it be that Van Zeeks knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything? But maybe. This could be a great opportunity for us. Sorry, what do you mean, Iris? Well, what is it that you always say, Bruno? Sooner or later, the truth comes out every time. And alright, the exact significance of things that McGilded deposited with Mr. Windibank is something that only Gina can explain to the court. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. What's the right thing to do here? Have Gina testify. Duh. Truth comes out eventually. May as well come out now. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilded's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windibanks by Mr. McGilded, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. And I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused's standing, and indeed your own. I have. Lord Van Zeeks, would you care to explain that last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice. And then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. As you wish. All right then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Bruno! Gina's not gonna like this. The articles that Mr. McGilded had deposited in Windibank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilded. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now, here we all are again, the same players in that trial facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilded. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged, that the murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of murder, Mr. McGilda died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on. As indeed does the omnibus murder itself.
Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings.
Miss Lestrade, would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean. I already said all of what I know. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important. But...
Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose.
Jeannie, don't listen to him! Please, you have to trust Rudo now! Iris, we're on your side! Alright then, I'll talk.
It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilden's pawned articles in that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the courts about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, the commodity sorely lacking in your original statements.
This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Zeek said. This could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Real truth of the omnibus case? Truth is that Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from above me head, and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. That's when McGill had slipped the driver some tint to do a run at the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard.
Good grief, this is outrageous. What you've just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago.
As you say, my lord.
And then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in Mr. McGilden's trial. Sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes.
Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend are entirely inexcusable. I don't believe it! The whole trial was a farce! It was all lies! That McGilded fellow was rotten to the core, just like that pickpocket. Don't forget the lawyer from the east, they're all in on it together! You're wrong, the lot of you! Mr. Naruto, the liar there, he didn't know nothing about it. Humbug! I don't think so. Are we really expected to believe that?
He really stitched everyone up, didn't he? What an operation to get the man off scot-free.
Unforgivable, stop. The lies have to stop, stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of McGilden's pawn articles must be brought to light.
Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of the calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing. Words fail me, this situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Hold it!
And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats. Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGilded was the sole passenger, did you not?
False testimony, my lord. That's what you told me I had to say. But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilded and the victim acquaintances? I don't know. But I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder, started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I had hardly dared to breathe, and then, all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
And I believe you let out an involuntary scream.
Yeah, that's what gave me away.
Hold it!
Was the disc you saw this disc? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove, lying on the floor.
Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps?
I don't know, but McGilded picked it up pretty smartish. And then he sat the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at that time? He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me a load of questions. Like what my name was and where I lived and that. He asked me about being a diver too. But after a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First there was a kind of rapping noise.
Hold it!
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled the horses and McGilded got me out of sight.
Out of sight? Where?
Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to an halt, the two coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops.
If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident.
So that left Mr. McGilded, the driver, and you still at the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I had the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
The driver, yes, he also testified in the trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves.
What did McGilded and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happened and stuff like that mainly.
Hold it!
That pawn shop obviously being Windibank's on Baker Street.
Just a moment, counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well?
Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand.
Indeed, Lord Van Zeeks.
McGilded took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up, all careful-like, before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remembered thinking, that coat and what's in it has got to be worth a few bob. Yes, Gina was sure the disc must be worth more than Mr. Windibank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery. The driver looked pretty happy when McGilded flashed some brass in his face. He went running off at a lick. Then the bog trotter called to me and he told me to come out from the drag's cabin.
Hold it!
Threaten you how, exactly? Told me I'd only be able to stop if I did exactly what he said.
which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said.
Which was?
He told me I'd have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I never.
Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in lug, to stop it from being forfeited. He left me with some brats to pay for it.
But really? Why on earth would Mr. McGilded have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with a pawnbroker before the arrival of the police? Makes no sense at all.
There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilded had the driver deposit in Windibanks was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs. Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I legged it before the coppers showed up.
Well done, Gina.
It can't have been easy to tell the truth like that. Ginny's really put her faith in you, Bruno.
Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. So I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible.
It's time to really go for it? Press her on every statement? I suppose I should. Oh, and another thing. What's that? Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange they've been whispering to each other the entire time?
Yes, that is strange. It looks like they're having a secret discussion about something.
I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it.
Hold it!
Let me press again, see what happens. Maybe one of them will react to it this time. Now, we did press every statement already. I think there's another time we had to press twice for something to
Hold it!
pop up. Alright, let's circle through here.
Hold it! Hold it!
Maybe I can pursue them, right? Even when there's nothing there. Maybe that. Maybe I'll do that. So I'll just press this first statement, I think. And I'll just say, excuse me.
Hold it! Excuse me.
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector, Mr. Graydon?
What? Blimey, you trying to give me a heart attack?
You have been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about?
Discussion with this fella? Pull the other one, sunshine! You think I've got anything to talk about with a shady gent like this?
And I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine.
They've clearly been talking the entire time and been cross-examining Gina.
It's as if they've been negotiating.
Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired on the omnibus.
It would appear on that night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. Negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilda took what he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life.
Which proves my point. This disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way, although I don't understand why as yet.
And 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGilda's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited.
I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the cove died right after his trial. I knew that.
So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own.
Well, why not, eh? They're only going to be forfeited. Why shouldn't I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime.
Miss Lestrade, it would appear Mr. McGilden was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be?
Eh? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass. He was probably going to sell it. And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking ain't no crime.
My lord!
The evidence your lordship has requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir.
The mysterious little box deposited by McGilda 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle.
Ooh, the box's arrival signals the end of trial part 3 here. But alright, so, I mean, of course we heard when Gina was in prison, the story there. The very threatening image where I was like, that's it, 100% confirmed McGilden's the Penguin. Even had the big schnoz sticking out in his profile. But alright, so that finishes up trial part 3. So, we've learned that Egbert Benedict's real name is Ashley Graydon. Ashy Gray. Like his moral compass, haha. But curious to learn more about how he's involved and how he knew about the disc. And how he knew that Gina was the one who had the ticket, because he knew who to look for. He knew what to say, based on waiting for her outside that pawnbrokery. So I wonder if he maybe got the information out of Beppo, or how he got that info in the first place. That is really picking my brain. I suppose he hired the Skulkin brothers, and something apparently went awry. Perhaps he was shot? Perhaps the bullet that shot from the gun of McGilden actually was the one that shot Benedict. I'm still going to call him Benedict. So, because Nash Skulkin, the tall Skulkin, Beavis, not Butthead, but Beavis, said that he got shot. So it wouldn't make sense for the Skulkin brothers to have shot him. So it has to be Mr. Windibank that shot Ashley Benedict, Ashley Graydon, Egbert Benedict. So I'm curious to learn more about that. I'm curious. I feel like the box is going to be empty when they open it, but I feel like there has to be some significant... Oh! Maybe that's the music box for the disc. Oh, it seems very small though. But maybe it has a secret music compartment, and maybe that's why it wasn't taken, because Graydon was like, I don't know what this is. There's nothing in this box. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a secret music box. Because it did look pretty fancy. Ooh, I wonder if they're going to play the disc in court. What if it's like government secrets? Maybe that's why Graydon wanted the disc, so he could destroy it. Because he works at the communications, and if you guys saw in the court record, investigated the newspaper apparently released information that worried about... I feel like that has to be super significant, right? That to foreign people that have malintent, information is being leaked via communications. And he works at the communications. He's very suspicious. So that is very, very curious there. But, ooh, I'm so excited to get into part 4. I'm actually going to go ahead and get on into that next. Not sure how long that episode's going to be, but I think with the next episode, we'll be wrapping things on up here for the Great Ace Attorney Adventures Game 1 here in the Chronicles. I am so excited, you guys. So, if you guys enjoyed, before, of course, I wrap it on up here, if you guys enjoyed this episode here, don't forget to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Comments for me. What is your theory on the small box? What is your theory on Ashley Graydon? What is your theory on why that Russian assassin is on the jury? Is that intentional? I think Lord Strongheart has a giant cover-up going here. Perhaps Lord Strongheart is the one that got rid of McGilded because he seems to be not... So apparently it came from higher-ups that Van Zieks is not allowed to use the disc as evidence, and he said, screw you. I make the rules here. This is my prosecution. I'm going to submit whatever I think is pertinent. And Gregson isn't happy about that. Gregson feels like he can't speak, and for permission to speak, you guys got to ask Lord Strongheart, is even what he said here. So, how is it all connected? I can't wait to find out. Very, very suspicious things here. So I'm excited to get on to that next episode. So, of course, if you're not part of the Allie's Treasure Trove family, I'd love to have you join us. Love to have you get notified when tomorrow's episode goes up. Of course, if you have the little bell icon, you guys should get notice when all the episodes do go live. So make sure, if you're not part of the family, make sure you go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and the bell, I suppose. I don't think I've ever plugged the bell icon, but it is convenient. It lets me know when my own videos are up too. But with that, before I finally wrap up this episode, I do of course have to give a big shout out to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much, you all, for your above and beyond supports. I honestly, really do appreciate it. To have 3 Ultimate Excavators, Jack Perez, Keith Muta, and Stephen Olivo, 3 Gemstone Miners, Andon, Mark Mardini, and Stephen Bly, and 1 Crystal Collector of John Michek. But thank you so much again to all of my patrons. Really appreciate your guys' above and beyond support. Whether or not you're in the tier that I say your name at the end of every video, really still do truly appreciate it, so thank you so much. But that does it here for this episode. Can't wait to find out what's going on here. Like I said, I think it's the last part of the game is what we're getting into tomorrow, so I'm super excited. And with that, we should be able to have a nice off day on Sunday. Rest up. If you guys need to catch up on some episodes, do so, and also give myself a day off of staying super late and filming. Maybe I'll even get ahead. Maybe I'll get a little bit ahead and not have to do day-to-day uploads and recordings and things like that. But anyways, that does it here for this one. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you joined me as we hopefully solve this mystery. Like I said, supposedly this game ends on a massive cliffhanger, so I really hope we figure it out. Hopefully we don't have that satisfaction stolen from us of not solving this case. That would be insane. But hopefully we figure that out next time here on Allie's Treasure Trove. So take care, everyone, and I hope to catch you tomorrow. Bye!